Hello, my loves, and welcome back to another episode of Native Growth. Listen, you are here to experience life, not the rat race, not sacrifice, not just good enough. You are here to experience and have love, joy, fulfillment, abundance, that life. This podcast is all about clearing the mental clutter and outdated beliefs that get in the way of that life and creating each day with intention and connection to your native self. Let's go ahead and get started today. All right, so today's episode is all about how I go about coaching myself to clear limiting beliefs and find prosperity everywhere. And it's definitely inspired by this crazy turn of events that happened yesterday that I'll get into later. Um, but I want to talk today about the questions that I ask myself when I'm feeling stuck or challenged to find a resolution. The questions that I ask myself to find the resolution to feeling stuck and challenged, and how I can move forward as my highest self. We will cover some of the somatic indicators of fear and doubt because we all know that we hold our feelings in our body and sometimes they get stuck, right? So that's what somatics is, right? The feelings that get stuck in your bodies. So we'll talk about those, and I'll talk about how I clear those fears, limiting beliefs, doubts when I notice that I have them, um, both mentally, emotionally, and somatically, and how I embody my mantra, how I never lose. I either win or I learn. And then finally, when I'm feeling better, I'll talk about some of the questions that I ask myself to get back into that space of flow and manifestation, expanding my vision, and really coming back into that space of creation and abundance. All right. So, the way that I always start this when I notice that I'm like having a moment of, self doubt, limitations, where I'm getting really kind of like frustrated with maybe certain results that I desire to see and experience that aren't happening for me, or maybe if I just feel like they're not happening in the timing that I want to experience them with, because I'm not perfect. Like, even though I, coach myself a lot and I'm very much in tune with spirit and spirit's timing and manifestation and the way that I manifest. I'm human. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I just get a little bit like, man, I just wish this would be a little bit easier than it is. Man, I wish this would flow a little bit faster than it is. I have my human moments like that, okay? So when I get that way, I kind of go like, wait a second, I'm getting too much in my head about this. I need to walk away from whatever or whoever it is. And it is okay, by the way, if it is having to do with a person, it is okay for you to say to them, hey, this is it's too much for me right now. It's overwhelming. I need to walk away and clear my head. Okay. So I walk away. The first thing I do before I even start to coach myself per se is I start taking some deep breaths. I just take some big, deep Buddha breaths, and my all of like my qigong practice really starts to kick in, where I go not just taking breaths like in your shoulders, like that's not a deep breath, and it's not a good way to breathe. So what we need to practice doing is taking what I call big, deep Buddha belly breaths. So you put your both hands on your belly, like around your belly button, and when you inhale through the nose, you expand your belly and do it slowly, like over a count of 4 or 5. And then you exhale slowly over a count of 4 or 5, and like do that a few times. Let yourself kind of come back to center, right? A lot of times, too, I find that another very natural inclination that I have is that I need to move my body, right? I can feel the energy rising. I can feel the electricity just like taking up so much space in my body. in that moment where I'm starting to feel that kind of like overwhelm. There's a lot going on in my body, and I just need to move it and channel it out. And so I have this very natural inclination to go for a walk or hike, to go for a swim, to go work out, to even do some of those Qigong exercises where I'm just, flowing with my body, shaking the energy out, just moving any kind of movement to stop the anxiousness in its tracks, to stop the overwhelm in its tracks, and to regulate and come back. And then I kind of get right into that first question, which is, what am I actually feeling? What is actually going on, right? I know that when I started feeling frustrated, that it wasn't the anxiousness, it wasn't the overwhelm. So, what am I actually feeling? And when I can be like, okay, this is what's actually going on, right? Then I can think, why am I feeling that way? Why is this making me frustrated or irritated? Why am I getting angry? Why am I feeling worried about something right now, right? And where am I feeling that in my body? Because this is where, if you're maybe not sure exactly what you're feeling, you can use these somatic indicators. You can use the ability to tap into what you're feeling in your body as a way to better recognize what it is that you're actually feeling and experiencing. So, for example, your solar plexus chakra is around the area of like your belly button, right? And your solar plexus chakra is the house of your willpower and your confidence. And so often on the flip side of that is when we experience worry, when we can feel that pit in our stomach, like something in that moment is taking our power away from us, right? So is it that I'm feeling this pit in my stomach? Do I feel disempowered in this moment? Do I feel like I'm going up a flight of stairs that's never going to end? Right? Do I feel worried that I'm never going to get there, quote unquote, right? That sort of thing. Is it that I'm feeling any kind of tension or tightness or turmoil, maybe right below that, which would be in your sacral chakra? Which is your house of identity and creation, right? So anywhere that you might feel it, like around your lower back, your hips, around the area where like well, if you're a female, it would be like where your uterus is, but also like around the area where your bladder is, right? If you feel some negative type of constriction there, that would be a good indicator that rather than feeling the flow of naturally being in a place of your identity and your creative side, that you might be feeling that self-doubt. That's where that self-doubt comes in. It creeps in and it fights with what you know to be your true identity, right? And it definitely sucks all that creative energy right out of you. It brings you to that place where you're being cut off and constricted, right? So we know that creation is very much a flowing energy, which makes a lot of sense given that the sacral chakra is the water element of our bodies, right? So water flows, right? So when we can't flow, we feel that constriction, that creative energy is cut off. We experience that self doubt. We experience that kind of like, oh man, is this really what I want to do? Should I just quit? Do I need to walk away from this? Do I need to start something new? It starts to that constriction in that sacral chakra can get really tricky because when that constriction is happening there with our energy, that's when we start to have lots of overthinking happening, right? And when that overthinking starts to take over, it comes up into that solar plexus where then we start to feel worried and disempowered and our confidence is gone. Like maybe we never had it in the first place, right? And it keeps going upward from there. And I could go on, but I don't want to speak too much about that. And I definitely don't want to speak it into existence for any of us. So the other thing that we might feel that is an indicator, a somatic indicator of fear, especially like a really grounded trauma-based fear is when you experience constriction and tightness around your tailbone and your legs and in your feet, right? So this is in your root chakra. The root chakra is your direct connection to the energy of Mother Earth, and it is where we house our feelings of safety and security and stability and comfort. And so when we're not feeling those things, we're obviously the opposite of that is feeling fear, feeling some level of instability, feeling like you're probably afraid on some level of something happening to disrupt the stability that you have currently worked to build up somehow, some way, whether that's in a relationship, in your business, in your money, in your career, whatever that is, right? So when we start to notice these different somatic indicators and feel them in our body, then we can be like, okay, I feel this knot in my stomach. I'm feeling worried. Yes, I'm feeling worried. Oh, I feel that tightness around my tailbone. I'm feeling fear. Yes, I'm feeling fear. Right. And so it can be a really helpful tool for being able to just more directly connect to exactly what it is you're feeling. Because once you do that, then you can say, why am I feeling that? Right. I know that you already had asked yourself initially, what am I feeling and why am I feeling that? But being able to identify with that somatic feeling in your body gets you to a place where you can dig into it deeper, right? What is the underlying fear or the underlying limiting belief or fear based belief that is supporting the other feelings that I was just having a minute ago about this thing, right? Am I worried just because I'm worried? Or am I worried because underlying that is a fear of some sort? And where is that fear coming from? Right? So what happened to me yesterday was I started to feel like the growth that I desire to see in my business wasn't happening fast enough. I just had this very human moment of like, man, I'm trying these new things. I'm trying this new program, right? Like I'm just working and plugging away. And I'm so grateful for the success that I've had so far. I'm so grateful for the amazing transformations that my clients have had and the way that they've been able to go live a life with so much more peace, so much more love for themselves and to be able to have so much more energy and intention for the things and the people that they really love and get rid of a lot of the obligatory shit that isn't actually necessary so that they can really focus on living that life of fulfillment and greatness in a way that makes sense for them. Like I love it. I'm just so lit up about it. But I want to keep doing that in bigger, more and bigger scale, right? And so I just had this really human moment yesterday of like, it's not happening fast enough. And so I had to go through these steps of, okay, wait a second, why am I feeling that? Where am I feeling that in my body? What's really going on? Why do I actually feel that way? Right. And I came to a point where when I slow down and allow myself to find that pain point, I was like, oh, what's actually happening right now is when I first started my business in 2020, it was right after like COVID had shut everything down. And so it was like March, April of 2020, right? And I was like, yep, I'm going to start my business. I totally want to do this. I was really excited about it. And then 3 months later, in mid July of that year, was when my boyfriend, who I was living with, I'd been living with him for 3 years at that point. That was when he got killed in a motorcycle crash. And it, you know, because it was COVID and I didn't have a job outside of doing my absolute best to just get my business off the ground, it completely swept the rug out from underneath me, and I really felt like I lost kind of everything. I mean, I even had people who were very good friends that kind of ghosted me and they just quit talking to me for whatever reason, whether it's COVID or they just didn't know how to talk to a grieving person or whatever it is. I have no idea. But, um, I really felt like I lost everything. And so all of a sudden, yesterday, I was like, okay, why do I have this worry that I'm not building it fast enough or that it's not coming along at the pace that I really want it to? What in this moment is making me actually question the timing of the universe, which is a thing that I very rarely do? And it was like, oh, because the last time that I was working on my business, it didn't happen fast enough to create a level of mental, emotional, and financial stability for me to be able to continue living my life after that person passed away. Right? So that was like, okay, now I found it. And then once I found it, then I could feel it start to automatically, naturally, it wanted to like purge out of my system and I felt like I was going to start crying and I was trying to hold it back and then my husband was like, "Babe, what's the matter?" And that's all it took and then I was bawling my eyes out. And I was like, "I'm afraid because of this." And I just like got his shoulder sleeve all soaking wet for like a hot minute, got it all out of my system, and then I was like, "Whew, okay, all right, got it all out." And there is something so powerful and so healing, so deeply healing and clearing that creates so much space for you to create and receive so much more and so much better in your life when you get comfortable allowing yourself to feel those deeply seated challenges, those deeply seated fears and traumas. And when you allow and encourage yourself to kind of ask some of those hard questions that get to the root of those things so that you can clear them out, right? And then once you allow yourself to do that and to have that purging process, whatever that looks like. In the moment for me it was crying, but I've certainly known people who have thrown up, like, especially when I was really actively doing energy healing for people. I had a couple of people where, like, with my energy healing, I helped to bring some of those things to the surface, and then they went and threw up, and then they felt much better, and they lived happily ever after. Um, you know, our bodies purge in so many different types of ways, and it's all okay, but when you just get brave and you allow that to happen, then you can move forward and you can kind of take that experience and make it separate from yourself and look at it in a bigger picture perspective so that you can learn from it and be grateful for it, right? I can be grateful that now I've seen that I had this limiting belief and that now it's gone away from me so that I can create and receive a better life as a result, right? And that's that's how I've really started to not just say, but embody and live and share the mantra, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And I would even add on to that, I win because I learn. I win because I don't allow myself to drown in whatever challenging disempowerments or worries I might feel. I choose not to allow, any self doubt or disbelief or fear be the thing that's going to stop me from achieving the life that I want. And it's a really big thing that I work with my coaching clients on. And again, the transformations that they have are always just phenomenal. And I coach them through the whole process of purging. And there's certainly like what I had yesterday where it was like I wasn't trying to purge, it just kind of happened and it all happened very fast. And then there's purging that we do on purpose. For example, when you do like a fire ritual or full moon ritual, those kinds of things where you are intentionally, purposefully being like, all right, what shit is stuck in here that I can pull up, get out to the surface, write it on a piece of paper, throw it in a fire, give it to the earth, whatever, you know? So there's a huge power in in this whole process of just allowing yourself to be so vulnerable with yourself, to be even vulnerable with, like in that moment it was my husband, so maybe you've got a partner or a best friend, a coach, someone that you're sharing these experiences with that can really encourage your transformation, knowing that whether that transformation happens in 10 minutes or 10 hours or 10 days or 10 years, that it's all part of your growth and elevation, and that it's all, though it may be temporarily uncomfortable, it's all beautiful and wonderful, and it's meant to happen so that you can move forward again, creating creating a life with more intention, having learned what you learned from what you purged, but also being able to receive more and better because you've made the mental, emotional, and energetic space for that to come in, right? And so it all creates this nice, beautiful cycle, not only of learning, but of gratitude. And when you hear a lot of people in the spiritual community say, like, oh, you got to raise your vibration, raise your frequency. Like, this is really what they're talking about, right? Love and gratitude and authenticity. Those are the top three highest vibrations, highest frequencies that you can possibly have and experience and embody. And this is how you get to do that, by kind of digging through your shit and clearing it out and making space for the gratitude, for the love, for the authenticity, and making those the kind of constant focus of any experience in your life, whether it's inherently, naturally a very happy, positive, joyful experience, or whether it's something that feels temporarily very uncomfortable, right? And so then what happened, yesterday after that for me is in that space of relief, sweet relief, and learning and gratitude. Then my husband and I were like, okay, well, we got that out. Let's go, let's shake it out, shake out the rest of that residual energy. I call it energetic shrapnel. You don't want it to sit there. You want it to go away, right? So I definitely encourage, if you didn't already get enough movement before the purging process, definitely getting some movement after. So we went, luckily I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful that we've just somehow managed to land like what seems the most perfect place for us right now. And we hadn't even had a chance to come look at it before we moved here because it all happened so fast. But there's a fitness center and a pool, right? Like, I don't know, 30 feet from our front door. It's wild. But anyway, so we are so blessed. We were able to have the time yesterday to work through that together. And then we went and had just a quick, like, 20-minute workout, and then a nice kind of 20-minute, we were like walking across the pool, getting a little bit more of that resistance training and swimming some laps and just talking through it more. And then I had this moment where I finished my last lap and I sat in the back of the pool and I looked at the pool and the trees and the gym right over there and the beautiful complex that is here, and the birds chirping and the sunshine and the 85-degree weather, and I was like, wow, that's right. I experience this prosperity and this abundance and these blessings because I am the blessings. And I just needed that reminder. Like, I didn't need for things to happen differently or faster. Like, creator works in creator's perfect timing, and I have nothing to do with that. I just put the energy out there, I put the intention out there, and trust that creator works in my favor, right? It's like I say the prayer both in prayer and in action with my intention, And then I just let go and trust, and I just trust that the universe sees me and hears me, and come back to that remembrance of that old saying, God helps those who help themselves, right? And so like the more that I just believe and act in action with that belief, with that intention, with my loving intention, and the more that I trust, the more that creator is like, oh yep, you did exactly what you were supposed to do and you trusted, and so here you go, right? And like that's how circulation works, at the law of circulation, and that the more you do that, the more, as I've spoken about in earlier episodes, the more that you embody that and become that, and that instills into your identity on a very deep somatic level in a really great way, right? The more that your power to attract it becomes amplified because you attract what you are. So I sat back yesterday after that process and I was like, "Oh yeah, I I get to have this because it is what I am." Right? I get to enjoy the sunshine because I am the sunshine. I get to enjoy love because I am love. I get to enjoy health and wellness because I am health and wellness, right? All of the blessings that you get to experience and that you want to circulate and expand on is all a matter of what you choose to become. And so this morning when I woke up and I was, feeling much better, and I had a really nice, deep, long sleep last night too. I think that's another thing about not just working out, but about purging, purging cycles. When you allow yourself to kind of dig through your own dirt and clear your own clutter and purge it out and have a fresh start, it can make you really tired. Your body can feel really exhausted and you may need to sleep a lot, and that's okay too. So, make sure that you're drinking plenty of water through these processes. Make sure you're having lots of really good, whole fruits and veggies, just continuing to feed your body and your energy in a way that's very nourishing and continues to raise your vibration, right? And allow yourself to sleep as whenever you can, as much as you need to. So last night I did all of that and woke up this morning and I was like, man, I am so in my space of gratitude. I'm so in my space of I'm going to sit and meditate, and so the questions that I ask myself when I'm in that space of ready to grow and expand and be in that flow of creation and manifestation, here are the questions that I ask. The very first one that I ask myself is, what do I desire to create? And that can be, as my husband likes to say, like the 25-meter mark. It can be the 100-meter mark. It can be the 1,000-meter mark. It doesn't matter. What do I desire to create? And kind of going along with that is, what do I desire to explore and experiment with right now or through the process of creation? Again, short term, long term doesn't matter. I kind of just discovered this question. I don't know, like less than a year ago, several months ago, maybe, but it's been one of the most powerful, like, creation manifestation questions that I've come to ask myself. What kinds of joy would I love to receive more of? Right? That goes back to that whole power of gratitude thing. Whatever you're grateful for brings you the most joy. So if you haven't listened to the Valentine's Day episode yet, I highly recommend you go back and listen to it because it's really insightful about how powerful gratitude is as a regular practice, as a state of being. On the whole, it's so powerful, and it helps you to really hone in on what brings you joy, and to ask yourself this question and to know with clarity, what kinds of joy would I love to receive more of, or what kinds of joy would I love to create more of, right? What wealth am I already so grateful for, right? Wealth to me is kind of synonymous with prosperity and abundance. it's not necessarily pertaining to money, right? Wealth is a very healthy, I can't find the right word that I'm looking for. It's a very healthy, well-nourished supply of whatever blessing you have in mind, right? We can be very wealthy in love. We can be very wealthy in our relationships, in our communities. We can be very wealthy in our careers and our passions. We can be very wealthy in how fulfilled we feel in life, right? So what wealth am I already so grateful for? And lastly, what do I desire to circulate and who do I desire to circulate it with? And this might be a question more pertaining to my loved ones out there who are, stepping into the side hustle or the entrepreneur space. I find that this one specifically hits home for me in that way, right? In terms of what it is that I'm creating in my business and what I desire to circulate in terms of the impact and the resonance that I desire to have on my community and my tribe and the world around me, and who I desire to circulate that with, and how I desire that impact to resonate across the universe. And this is basically in a nutshell my process, kind of from start to finish to beyond finish, of how I go about coaching myself when I'm feeling stuck or challenged and I need to release and clear limiting beliefs and remind myself that I am the blessings that I already have, and I am the blessings that I am attracting, and that prosperity and abundance exist everywhere, right? If you go outside right now and you look at a tree, that tree will not have one leaf on it, right? Because abundance is the nature of the universe, it's the nature of Creator. Creator wasn't like, oh, one leaf, yep, that's good enough, that's all we need. All the leaves are going to look all the same anyway, right? Nope. The universe needs all of those leaves, and it needs all of the trees, and it needs all of the blades of grass. It needs all of the grains of sand, and it needs all of those because even though to us they might look very similar, they might perform similar functions, they're all unique and they are all there to remind us that abundance is the natural expression of the universe, right? It is how Creator desires to express itself as each and every one of those grains of sand, as each and every one of those leaves on the trees. And Creator is always desiring to express itself as you in the unique way that you can offer your prosperity, your blessings, and your abundance to the world, my love. And so, on that note, I am super excited to announce that I'm now opening up spots for two different kinds of coaching sessions with me. One that I'm calling Break the Barrier. This is a 2-hour session where we will look at your astrological birth chart to give us a foundation for what it is that you find most important, and some of the natural inclinations that you have in terms of what makes you tick and how you tick, right? And we will use that time to look at your birth chart together, but to also go through kind of each one of those parts of what is important in terms of how you tend to express yourself and how you tend to view things and how you tend to live within each of the major areas of your life, including things like money, your career, your relationships, your health, your ego, etc. Right? So we'll look at each one of those things during this Break the Barrier session. We'll discover where the barriers are and how we're going to break through them and how you can move forward in life as this new version of you, completely equipped with everything that you need to avoid some of those pitfalls in the future, and to remember that you can always create your reality with intention, right? And the second one is my signature one-on-one program that I had offered for many years, and I've kept it closed for the last couple of months while we've had just a lot of, moving and changing and shifting and things going on. And I've been really just focusing more on myself. And I'm so excited to open this back up for everyone now. These one-on-one coaching packages, they're 6 months of one-on-one with me. We meet bi-weekly. It's called Acorn to Oak. And so obviously it's the idea that the acorn grows into the big oak tree. And so a lot of what we do during our 6 months together is we do exactly what I talked about in this episode. We get to the core of what's kind of been limiting you, what's been holding you back, what's been making you feel stagnant, like you're living the same day and the same kind of cycles, and you have lots of things on your heart and your mind that you would love to feel like you're making progress on and moving forward with and getting better, and you just can't seem to get there. You just can't seem to break the cycle, right? But you're willing to do it. You're willing to put in the work. You're willing to do the work in mind, body, and soul, and to throw out some outdated programs and habits. You're willing to usher in new wonderful, expansive, loving beliefs and habits and programs for yourself. You're not afraid of change. You're not afraid of, putting in a little effort. You're not afraid of asking some of the hard questions, and you're not afraid of receiving, and receiving big. I mean, big, right? You're not afraid of any of these things. You're ready for all of those things. This is for you. If you are ready for all of those things, and applications for both of these different types of sessions, both for Break the Barrier and for Acorn to Oak, those are both up on my website, www.nativegrowth.wordpress.com, and the link is in the show notes for you as well. I cannot wait to see you inside of those. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening today. I love you all so much. Always remember, you are meant for more. It's coded within you: your power, your joy, your love, your native growth. I'll see you next time.